Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Erickson, and I'm a director at Allele Capital. I want to welcome everyone to today's live webinar titled Transforming Regenerative Medicine, NurExone's cutting-edge exotherapy platform. Today, we are joined by three members of the NurExone Biologic management team, where they will dive into not only who NurExone Biologic is as a company, but also their cutting-edge exotherapy platform and how they leverage exosomes as a delivery and targeting mechanism, targeting diseases with extremely high unmet needs. Before we dive into today's discussion, I want to provide a little background. I want the speakers to provide a little background on who they are and what their expertise in the field is. So maybe we can start with yourself, Lior, and then we can talk to Noah and Dr. Daggy.
So thank you, Andrew. Pleasure being here today. My name is Dr. Lior Shaltiel. I'm the CEO of the company since 2021. I have a bachelor in chemical engineering, master in physiology, and PhD in pharmacology, specialized in drug delivery system.
Perfect. Thank you. Noah?
Hi, Andrew. Happy to be here today. My name is Noah Avni. I'm the Director of R&D at NurExone. I have a PhD in protein biochemistry and vast experience in the diagnostics and cell therapy field. Happy to be here today.
Perfect. And finally, Dr. Daggy?
Thank you very much for the invitation to join you today. I'm a neurosurgeon, professor of neurosurgery at the Mayo School of Medicine and Science. I'm a neuroscientist and I have a particular interest in neuroregeneration.
Fantastic. Thank you all for the quick introductions. And without further ado, let's jump right into the discussion today. So, Laura, I think it probably makes sense to start with you. Can you provide the audience a little background on who NurExone is? What's the focus of the company? And maybe you can even jump into the current status of the two lead assets, which we briefly highlighted at the top of this call, that are focused on spinal cord injury and glaucoma.
Sure. Pleasure to do that. NurExone started as a company, one product, one assets. Now, after 3 years of research and hard work, we have a platform and portfolio of products. We have the lead product, which is called ExoP10, is an exosome loaded with siRNA against certain protein called PTEN, P10. This product can be applied to two indications. We start with spinal cord injury due to the data that we have and data that we produce in the company. And recent data that we produce show also efficacy with this product with another indication, which is ophthalmology indication based on glaucoma model. More than that, we have other in our portfolio products of exosomes loaded with other siRNAs against different targets. On top of that, due to the tech transfer, the technology transfer of the knowledge from university to the company, we produce and hold patents that cover 360% degrees of the product, meaning we know how to produce it from 2D to 3D, load it post-production, the exosomes, and we know what we want to get it as a cargo inside. And we are specialized in siRNA.
Fantastic. Thank you for that background. And I think an important distinction to clarify with Lior's commentary there is, we have ExoP10, which is the lead asset for the spinal cord injury, but then there's this exotherapy platform in the background, which is the underlying technology that leverages the exosomes as a delivery mechanism, which I think is extremely exciting. And what NurExone is doing is far beyond what anyone else is doing in the field. So really exciting stuff. And maybe we can pivot now to Dr. Daggy. Maybe you can, for the audience, provide a little more detail on your experience, your background, your expertise in the field, and maybe help fill the void on what some of the current issues are in the field and how what NurExone is working on can help tackle some of those challenges.
Thank you very much. So the field of not only spinal cord injury, but neurological injury is a very, very frustrating field because until now, there's been almost nothing that can be done to relieve the problems of spinal cord transection, spinal cord compression, nerve injury. The nerve does heal, but the nerve heals at a very, very slow pace, maybe a millimeter a day if it does heal at all. And the problem with the way the nervous system works is that not only do you need healing, You need healing in a certain three-dimensional form so that the right connections are made when nerves heal. That means that if healing is not correct, you might get reconnection, but the reconnection doesn't work. So we want three things. We want anatomical repair, we want physiological repair, and what I mean by physiological repair is that the nerve works, and then we want functional repair. And functional repair means that we restore the nerve to the way it was before. I'm using the word nerve very, very broadly here. The spinal cord, of course, is not a nerve. It's made up of neural elements. Peripheral nerve also has neural elements. The optic nerve is actually an extension of the brain, but in many respects it resembles nerves and it has neural elements. So any place where you have nerve cells and neural elements, where you have damage to the nerve, where you have transection or compression of the nerve, you look for ways to have it repair itself effectively. Now, surgery has proven somewhat effective in reversing the effects of compression of nerves, transection of nerves, and has allowed some forms of repair, but it's never been as good as we want it to be. And then when you start thinking about the optic nerve is very, very difficult to heal, surgically, certainly, medically as well, although people do try very hard. The exciting thing about this platform lies in the numbers. The numbers are spinal cord injury are in the United States, so a population of someplace between 350 and 400 million, more or less. There are between 250 and 360,000 injuries a year. In terms of other forms of spinal cord compression from injury, it's probably 8 to 250 per 100,000. And in terms of compression from cancer, it's probably 680 to 10,000, maybe even 20,000 per year. This is a very, very large number. The numbers are hard to pin down because not everything is reported the same way, and that's why there's such a range. But the fact that spinal cord injury, whether from transection, which means that the spinal cord is cut, or from compression, which means there's pressure on it, or from other things, those are real problems. And people who have these conditions have to live with them. Many of them are young. Many of them have many years to live, even if they're not that young. And so for the first time, we're really beginning to see a glimmer of hope that just perhaps if we can take the animal data that we have and we can apply it to human beings, if we can extrapolate, there's real hope that we're going to be able to get a change in recovery, a change in the way people with spinal cord injury, nerve injury, optic nerve injuries, other type of neural injuries, what their life will be like and what their opportunities are for recovery. That's why this is an exciting project.
No, that's extremely helpful detail, and thank you for that, Dr. Daghi. I think it's very clear that there's clearly an unmet need in the field, and what NurExone's working on is extremely exciting to help fill that void. I guess a follow-up question to some of the information you just presented us and provided to us was, what is the current standard for care for a patient battling this full spinal cord transection or is having other neural issues? What can people turn to today that is considered the current standard of care, and how is NurExone going to be building on that?
That's a great question and a very difficult one. The first thing you do is you try to treat the underlying cause. So if someone has, for example, spinal cord compression from an infection, something called an abscess, pressing on the spinal cord, you drain the abscess. If somebody has compression from bone, you try to deal with the bone. If it's a problem with instability of the spinal canal, you use surgery to try to deal with that. Trauma is more difficult. Trauma often has two separate components. One is compression, and you decompress or take the pressure off the spinal cord. The other, however, is transection or tearing of neural elements, and we're not very good at that at all. The central nervous system, the optic nerve, is more complicated. There's certain conditions like multiple sclerosis, which remit and recur, and there are good treatments for that. The optic nerve can be treated fairly well, but there's always a question of why can't we do much better than we do. There's also a condition called glaucoma, which is a condition of the optic nerve of perhaps more complicated source or etiology. And glaucoma is seen as a disease of pressure in the eye, but it turns out it's much more complicated than that. There's high pressure glaucoma, in which the pressure in the eye is high. There's normal pressure glaucoma, in which the pressure is normal. And there's low pressure glaucoma, in which the pressure is not the problem at all. But in each case, there's a dysfunction of the nerve, and the nerve is condemned to not being able to transmit vision correctly. So the ability to look at the nerves and to be able to treat them by a system that actually restores function to the nerve is very exciting.
That's great. That's great. No, thank you for that detail. And I think that paints a clear picture that, while there's a lot of different variations of, the different types of glaucoma, I'll say, for lack of a better phrase, that you can experience and how the treatment varies. We're working on something at NurExone that's has the opportunity to be versatile across all different types of glaucoma and acute spinal cord injury. And so I think that's really exciting. And I think that actually leads really well into this next topic for us, or next section of the webinar, where we wanted to direct their attention to Noah and hear a little more about NurExone's exotherapy platform. Obviously we talked about how we're leveraging exosomes as a delivery mechanism and targeting mechanism within the body. But I think it'd be really helpful if Noah, you could provide a little more details on that platform, what we're doing, and why we're able to leverage this exciting technology for a wide range of potential indications.
Sure, Andrew. Thank you. And Dr. Dagi, it's so inspirational to listen to you and hear the clinical perspective, because it makes me so excited about our technology and what it can offer. Because if you think about it, nerve damage is something that we can't easily access, right? If we would like to access it, we would have to be severely interfering with the body. Ideally, we would like to, take up the chunk that is damaged, just put a new chunk of nerves, right, that will be implemented in the body correctly. And that's it. But obviously, we can't. Our platform is very unique in the sense that it kind of cracks this riddle, because EVs, or our exotherapy platform, is something that nature offers us, right? They have this ability to home to injury site. They have this ability to be called to damage site and offer the damage site their payload, right? So in our case, the exotherapy is a platform that we can load with several different payloads. In the case of our lead indication, it's P10, right? An siRNA against P10, which causes nerve regeneration. It prevents progress of nerve damage, and promotes the healing of the area. It's very exciting because it allows us to control the dosage. It allows us to control the toxicity. It allows us to control the therapeutic window. It allowed us to, have a moiety that we don't have to interfere with so much, because we can directly put it in the place where it's needed. So it's, in my eyes, the closest we can get to physically take out the chunk and put a new chunk back where it will function correctly, without, inducing so much stress to the patient. The hurdles that we've overcome are many, right? We had to produce a production and a manufacturing process that is highly controlled. We had to have an operation freedom to operate within the scope of this production system. We had to protect our siRNA. We have to develop all the analytical methods. We have to have strong preclinical evidence. We've made such big progress in the last years, and we're very proud of the spot we're at.
It's amazing. Yeah, I know that, like you said, it is really rewarding to hear Dr. Dagi talk about the clinical utility across a wide spectrum of indications, like we touched on earlier, and to further hear yourself, Noah, speak to the platform and its capabilities and what NurExone is really focused on is really exciting. So I think I'd echo a lot of people's sentiment when I say it's going to be exciting to follow along the story and hear what comes next for the team. Lior, I might throw it back to you. Are there any any other things that you'd like to add about the platform or XOP10 as your lead indication specifically that you're most excited about? Obviously we talked about who NurExone is, talked about the unmet need, talked about the platform. But I'd be curious to hear any additional thoughts you might have about where NurExone's at and how we're positioning the company for further development of these two assets.
I think Noah covered it in perfect ways, and Teddy also gave a very bright background. I would like to say, to order to support this research that we have, development that we had to build a company from scratch. Okay, and this is the miracle here. So let's focus about going from 0 to 100 or from 0 to 18 employees. Majority of R&D, majority of the R&D is with PhD, and all the supportive employees, R&D develop. Instead of the R&D, we have business development. We have the finance department. We have a personnel that focus on the quality and the regulation of this product. This is the important things. And on top of that, we took a private company and made it to a publicly traded company. And this is not only in Canada. We are traded in and listed in the Toronto Stock Exchange Venture, but we can also be investors in Germany could buy the stock, and investors in the US could buy the stock, the OTC QB. All in all, the results is bringing a company with a very strong research and a very strong financial, okay, in order to complete until this day $15 million of investment in a preclinical company, and that's the miracle here, okay. And the miracle is supportive with a strong research. That's my message.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that added clarity. Okay, great. Well, I think the full team here has done an excellent job of setting the scene, providing a background on who NurExone is, what the differentiation is, and the unmet need in the field. So with that, I think it makes sense to open it up to some questions from the audience. So we'll give everyone listening, we'll give you a few minutes to submit your questions, and then we'll start reading some of those off. But in the meantime, while we wait for those to come in, I think it's important to highlight that Lior, the team recently announced some updated news around the glaucoma asset just this past week, and I'd be curious to hear your take on that update that was just provided, as well as what that means for the future development, of this asset, but of NurExone as a whole.
Yes, so let's give a background for that. In this summer, we published primary results on the glaucoma model using our XOP10. The results were very exciting results based on mainly ERG recording. I shared it with Teddy when I was in Boston, and I was very excited because we see a clear functional recovery after 18 days from the injury. What I need to bring to our audience, to our investors, is to give the full report, and this is what I wanted to share with them. Addition data on this preclinical third-party glaucoma model that we made in Sheba. Sheba is the largest hospital in the Middle East, the largest in Israel, of course, and also in the Middle East. This project was led by Professor Michael Belkin. He has actually recent exits. He's on his own company. He got it purchased by a huge company in the field called Alcon, and this is the things that we publish, and I'm very proud to see a comprehensive results and finish this study and go to the second one to have another valid results and promote this new indication.
Fantastic. No, that's great to see that there's development being made on not only the lead asset XOP10, but this glaucoma asset as well. And so I think it's that de-risk pipeline that is extremely exciting, on top of the fact that it's built on a platform that holds a whole bunch of other opportunities down the future. So that's great to hear. And I see we've got a few questions come in, so let me just pull those up quickly. Okay, great. This is a good continuation on our thought. The first one comes in and it says, thanks for the time today, everyone. Really exciting that you have this drug delivery platform called exotherapy. I'm just curious, outside of your spinal cord injury and glaucoma, do you have any ideas of what's next to come on the platform for additional indications? Where do you see this ideally going outside of spinal cord injury and glaucoma? Thank you.
I will take it just from the minimal point of view. In order to have IND, you need a lot of resources. As a small company, mid-sized company, I would say, 2 indications is a high burden. So we will focus on those 2 indications. This cover relatively a significant market. Maybe the spinal cord injury is a bit smaller than the ophthalmology, but ophthalmology is definitely larger than the spinal cord injury. But this is about exopitan. We have other product in the portfolio, and we have the platform, as you said. And we are open always to collaboration and a joint venture on taking our exosomes and load it with a external peptide or siRNA can be option here. And those projects related to business development of the company and working collaboration with other company, we will always have an open door for that.
Absolutely. Did anyone else have any additional thoughts on that question?
If I may, it's a very, very good question and a very difficult question to answer. As Lior said, having a company with 2 indications is already a lot. But the real thing about indications is to try to understand what the population is that will respond and under what circumstances a drug can be used. And that's called the primary clinical indication. So if you think back to where Lior started, he talked about the different things that have to be done when you begin to develop a drug. You have to be able to synthesize it. You've got to get validation. You've got to get verification of it. You've got to get stability, a number of different things. And finally, you have to package it. And then, only then, can you start your clinical trials to see for whom it works and how well it works and whether it meets its expectations. So to do that in spinal cord injury and nerve compression and nerve recovery and in glaucoma is actually a very, very broad area on which to do it. Will there be more specifics? Quite possibly. We might find, for example, that it works in one type of glaucoma and not another. We might find that it works in other types of conditions as well. But we don't know that yet. And the point about a company at this stage is the job of the company is called translation. You go from the laboratory to the bedside, to the patient. You need to prove safety. You need to prove efficacy. And that's what management team is actually working on right now. Yeah. So this would not be the right time to start speaking about indications, except to say what we're doing is treating a part of the body, the nervous system, that has a very hard time healing itself. And if it succeeds, even at a few of these indications, it will be a tremendous benefit to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Daghi. And I think, the perspective both of you and Lior just offered is extremely refreshing, right? I think oftentimes in today's market, when you're looking at a platform company, a lot of companies feel like they need to branch out into all these indications to show their wide focus. But I think, a focused approach on your 2 core assets for now, getting those to the goal line and then coming back and looking how else we can leverage the platform is not only a capital efficient way to handle this, but it's also a respected way in today's market when there's a lot of uncertainty. So,
and you know why it's like that? Because most of the technology platform company are coming from the platform, and we did it the opposite. We came from the product in order to protect it and to have a freedom of operate of the product. We, by coincidence, found the full picture and the platform. So our focus is our product, not the platform. Definitely, right. We have a business on the platform, but that's not our main one.
Right. It's just an added benefit
Exactly.
Building around the product. Yeah. Exactly. No, that's great. That's a really great explanation. It does a great job, I think, of answering that question. So we got another question here. Okay, so you referenced your orphan drug designation both in the U.S. and also in Europe. Can you talk about what the commercial implications for this ODD designation are?
Okay, so it's mainly, again, regulatory aspects. We can talk about different things. For the investors, usually what is very important is the exclusivity. It's not patent related, it's a market exclusivity from the FDA and also from the European agency. Second, in the US, you have tax release, you have support of the FDA to fast track your application when you get to the clinic. In Europe, you have also incentives that add financial incentive from Europe to open sites in Europe with your product. So this is a large package of benefits that the company gets, and more than that, I would say, submitting FDA and EMA ODD, it's a large document. This is another proof, another due diligence on the company. How strong is our research and our product? And I'm taking it from there. Another eyes look on our development, our product, and say, yes, you have a case, and you got the ODD, the orphan drug designation.
Amazing. Yeah, no, obviously a great designation to have both in the U.S. and Europe, and I think that'll be great for future development of the company. So I think we're pretty pressed to time. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Daghi. I think you said you had a comment.
Sure. The orphan drug designation is a very important and a very interesting one. The orphan drug refers to the idea that there may be initially only a very small number of patients who will benefit from a drug. And it's a faster way into the market than actually having a large number of patients. It also gives you some advantages, not only in terms of the protection of intellectual property, which Lior just beautifully outlined, but also in terms of reimbursement. So for a drug and the company that makes the drug to succeed, you need to have a drug, you need to have safety, you need to have efficacy, you need to have a population in which it works, you need to have demonstrated effects, then you need to have regulatory approval, then you need to have reimbursement. And so the idea of having an orphan drug designation early on suggests that you have a little bit of advantage, a little bit of competitive advantage in the market. And also in the long run, the valuation of the company is likely to be higher than if you didn't have it. So there are a number of different advantages to this, especially the fact that you have an enriched population of patients that you can point to and say, to begin with, in this population, we know that we have a market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that additional detail, Dr. Daghi. And I see a couple more questions here, but we're a little bit pressed for time. So for those of you who submitted questions that didn't get those answered today, we'll be sure to follow up with you directly via email or comment section and get those questions answered for you. But after that, let's just pivot to kind of closing remarks here. And I want to thank, all the speakers on the call today for their time and their insightful discussion around not only who NurExone is, but what they're doing differently in this regenerative medicine field. I think personally, I can say it's extremely exciting that not only do you have a company doing something different that's producing a platform around a product, but there's clearly excitement around it with their recent financings, the events they've been invited to, orphan drug designation. There's just a lot of positive and near-term milestones coming up for NurExone. So I would say it's a really exciting time to follow the story. And what I'll do is, Lior, I'll pass it over to you for any closing remarks to wrap up today's discussion.
Pity that we couldn't answer all the questions here, but I definitely urge the people that listen to that to follow us on the social media. We're active in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all type of platforms. Second, you will be part of our newsletter. So hopefully You will see the advantage on monthly base, and we will share with you what we did every month, and you can follow us like that in an easy way directly to your email box. Great to be here. Thank you, Andrew.
Great. Thank you so much.